Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GoLocal Live in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Molly O'Brien. It is Monday the 22nd, and it is 3 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope all of you are feeling a little wide awake and energized after that Patriots win. So they are headed to the Super Bowl once again, and it wasn't a late game, so hopefully you aren't too tired. But probably expended your energy a little bit after all that cheering. So today we have a couple fun things happening here in the Navigate Credit Union Broadcast Center. We are talking about the environment, we are digging into some locally made chocolate, and then we are looking into our past while memorializing and headed into the future. So it should be kind of an interesting show, kind of ranging all things on the spectrum. So I'd like to say hello and welcome to our first guest. Cindy Sabato joins me today. She is with Save the Bay. Cindy, how are you?
Hi, good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So we are talking about Save the Bay, and I contacted you because it's January, so people are still kind of working out their New Year's resolutions, and I thought a good one might be becoming a little more eco-friendly or that kind of thing. So we thought ways to go green in 2018.
Great idea.
Great idea, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to put it like this. Cindy came up with 10 ways to go green in 2018. And you put it from the frame of mind of ways to help the bay, because that's what you do.
Save the bay.
Because that's
what we do.
That's what you do. So talk to me a little bit about why it's important from the frame of mind for helping the bay.
That's a great question. You look out over the bay and it's beautiful and everybody's out there swimming and using the bay in a variety of different ways. And so it's easy to think, oh, the bay is really great and clean. And, it certainly is a lot cleaner than it was many, many years ago. But the reality is, though, although big, obvious pollution inputs like factories and raw sewage overflows have mostly gone behind us, we still have a lot of really important and subtle pollution inputs into our bay. And one of the biggest contributors to pollution in our bay, beach closures, shellfish closures, and poor water quality, is actually something called stormwater runoff or runoff pollution. And that's something that's caused by all of us individually, just in the way we live. But the good thing is that also means that we all have the power, collectively and individually, to reduce runoff pollution or polluted runoff and help improve water quality in our bay even more.
Well, I mean, I think that's so great that we all have the opportunity to change it. But who would have thought, you hear storm drain runoff and you think, oh, that's just part of life. But the fact that it impacts, that it makes such a big impact, it's pretty substantial. Okay, so that's why we know it's important. Let's talk a little bit more about what is polluted runoff.
Great question. So today it's kind of rainy and nasty, and we're getting into the spring season when we have a lot of rainy days. And when it rains or when snow melts, or we water our lawns in the springtime throughout the summer, that water runs off of our lawns and across hard surfaces like the roads we drive on, the sidewalks we walk in, our driveways, pavements, all of that kind of thing. And as water flows over those surfaces, it carries with it all kinds of pollutants, from your road salt to sand to chemicals from fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, anything that might be on the roadways, gasoline, a lot of things from the automotive and transportation industries. All of that eventually makes its way to our local waterways through storm drains and through direct, groundwater seepage and direct flow into our waterways, even our streams far, far inland from the bay. And climate change in our particular region is causing more downpours, more intense storms, and more snow. And that actually means more water than ever is rushing at higher velocities through those storm drains and into the water. So stormwater runoff pollution is those pollutants carried in water that comes from the sky or from our sprinklers into our waterways.
Okay, so these are all, we're just trying to give you a little bit of background why you should sort of go a little bit greener in 2018 from the perspective of helping save the bay.
That's
so
right.
That's a little bit of background. And of course we can give you some other options and maybe a little bit of input later on. So Cindy's come up with 10 ways to go green in 2018. So number 1, make your yard a sponge, if you're fortunate enough to have a yard.
Yes, that's right. So basically there are two big ways to reduce runoff pollution. One is to reduce the amount of runoff, And 2 is to reduce the amount of pollution that gets into the runoff. So easy. When you make your yard a sponge, you're basically prepping your yard or your lawn to hold on to more of the water. So less water runs down your driveway, down your lawns, into your storm drains. One easy way you can do that is to redirect your downspouts from your roof. Instead of having it run into your driveway, where in the wintertime it turns into ice, you know, turn those rain spouts so that they're flowing into your lawn or perennial garden or vegetable garden or whatever you have planted around your home. That's a great way to use free rainfall from the sky to water your lawn and hold on to more of the water. Another great way is to collect rainwater in rain barrels. Again, free resource from the sky. And if you collect, if you have those rain spouts going into rain barrels, you collect that rain and you reuse it to water your lawn during the summer months when you might be really tempted to overwater with water that you might be paying for through the sprinkler system. So again, great free resource that saves money and also saves the bay.
No, I just want to clarify. A rain barrel is something different than just setting out a bucket of water and letting it sit there for mosquitoes and other things to collect, right? So it's just a little bit different than just...
That's right. A rain barrel is like a large barrel. It's got a sort of filtration kind of thing on top of it so it doesn't collect leaves. Many of them have a spout at the bottom so you can actually pull the water, you know, from it with a hose, that kind of thing.
Okay, so if you're interested in doing this, maybe look into a rain barrel. It's not just setting out buckets around your yard and then leaving them there because that could cause problems.
Yes, and many towns and municipalities in Rhode Island actually have rain barrel programs where you can actually contact the town and make a purchase that way.
Awesome.
Yeah. Another great way is to plant a rain garden. Rain garden is like a depressed bed of plantings, native plants that kind of holds on to water and filters pollutants before it kind of seeps into the ground. This one is really might be surprising for folks, is to let your grass grow longer. So when your grass is longer, it prevents, first of all, it adds more shade to the soil and it prevents evaporation of moisture from the soil. So that's a really great way to hold on to more water. And if you're mowing less frequently, that's more time to play.
Oh, we like more time to play. Okay, number 2, save water, which all kind of goes back to number 1 to kind of...
It does.
And correlates.
Yeah, it does correlate. It's, again, reducing the amount of runoff that runs off your yard. And one of the ways that you can do that, again, let your grass grow longer, but also leave your grass clippings on the ground after you lawn mow. That, again, same effect as longer grass. It helps shade your lawn and it holds on to moisture, preventing the higher levels of evaporation that a shorter lawn would cause. I mentioned earlier letting your grass grow dormant in the summer. So our grasses are designed to go dormant in the dry, hot summer months. We like to fight it because we like, as humans, we like our lawn to be beautiful and green and pristine, but it doesn't need to be that way. Your grass is still alive. It's just dormant as a natural state of its life cycle. And when it rains, it'll green up again. So don't fight that dormancy. And then sprinklers. If you're using rain barrels, you can spend less money on watering from your lawn, so you're using natural water from the sky, from Mother Nature. Use a timer on your sprinklers so that you're not overwatering, and make sure your sprinklers are set so that you're not watering the pavement or the road.
That's so frustrating when you see sprinklers going and they're just watering the street and the sidewalk. That's frustrating. Okay, number 3, grow a healthy lawn. So this kind of all links together.
It does. It's amazing how all of this blends together. Again, growing a healthy lawn. You know, we think a healthy lawn needs lots of fertilizer and lots of water, but in fact, too much fertilizer and too much water can actually have the opposite effect and actually can create an unhealthy lawn that perpetuates a cycle of need for those things. So as I mentioned before, leave grass clippings on the lawn, not only because of evaporation and soil retention, but also because grass clippings can provide up to 1/3 of your lawn's nutrient needs. So less fertilizer needed if it's getting the nutrients it needs from the grass clippings that you leave on the lawn. Another thing is to embrace clover. Clover is actually a wonderful source of nutrient for your lawn, and it's also great for pollinators. So, you know, those of us who want to keep the honeybees and keep the vegetables and plants, you know, that's a great thing for that as well. As I mentioned before, letting your grass grow longer, watering less. So we talked about watering less as a way of saving water, but overwatering your lawn creates a circumstance where the roots to the grass are staying closer to the surface of the grass instead of growing deep down into your soil. And the effect that has is it makes the grass more dependent on more water more often. So less water is actually a little bit better. So you want to kind of water less frequently and in longer increments so that you're encouraging your roots to grow deep into the ground. Use compost as a fertilizer to top dress your lawn. And if you have to fertilize, because I know some people out there just feel like they have to fertilize, can't let it go, fertilize at the right time. So not just before a rain, because that actually causes the rain. Remember, those rains just washing that chemical right off your lawn. It's not helping it seep in. It's carrying it with it down to storm drains. Don't water in the summertime when your lawn is naturally dormant. Fertilize. Don't fertilize in the summertime when your lawn is naturally dormant.
Okay, this is for we're on number 4. This is for animal owners out there. Scoop the poop.
Yes.
And I just said that right now.
You did. You know, we talk a lot about poop at Save the Bay. And that's because poop is a huge source of, and any kind of poop, human poop, pet poop, goose poop, it's a huge source of bacteria and nutrients that are highly responsible for beach closures and shellfish closures, particularly after heavy rainfalls. Studies have shown that nearly 40% of dog owners do not clean up after their pets.
Gross.
Yeah.
Just pick it up, people.
Right. And what most people don't realize is it takes up to a year for dog poop lying on the ground to actually sort of decompose and disappear, and even longer than that for the bacteria and parasites that they will continue to seep into the ground for well beyond that year. Right. So it's really important that we pick up our poop, and that includes in your backyard. You might think, oh, it's in my backyard, it's not hurting anybody, but it really is still contributing to polluted runoff.
So just pick it up. Pick it up, get a shovel, get a bag, get whatever you need. Just scoop it up and help everyone and help other people not step in it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's multiple reasons
It's really easy.
to pick it up, right?
Yeah.
Everyone will thank you, including the bay, right?
That's for sure.
Okay, so another animal-related one, which maybe some little kids might feel a little sad about this, but number 5 is don't feed the ducks.
That's right. Again.
So let's just squash this out, and Cindy's going to fill us in why we should not feed the ducks.
Well, you know, first of all, feeding the ducks in Rhode Island is illegal. Who knew? And a number of states have that rule, and the reasons are manyfold. First of all, feeding geese and ducks, it's feeding them the wrong kind of food, so it's unhealthy for them. So it contributes to disease and illness and death for the animals themselves, and none of us wants that. But it also creates a dependency for these species. So many of these species are normally supposed to be migratory, but they come to learn that, I get all kinds of food here, so now I'm not going to migrate. So they start to stay with us season after season after season, and create an overburden on our environment for supporting that quantity of that mass of birds and geese. But going back to sort of our bay and the goose poop, one goose can poop 1 pound of poop per day, which amounts to 30 pounds of waste per month.
Oh my goodness.
And if you imagine, who hasn't seen, you know, a giant field of grass with hundreds of geese on them? Imagine all of that.
Dropping.
All of that bacteria source there. You know, so it's not good for the ducks. It's not good for the environment. So don't feed the ducks.
Wow, okay, if that wasn't enough to stop you.
Yeah.
Just take a picture of them instead. Grab a pair of binoculars and go look at the birds rather than feed them. Okay, number 6, don't be a litter bug. Which hopefully you know that by now, but maybe not. Or maybe contain your trash a little better. Put a little positive spin on it. Yeah,
you know, Save the Bay has been operating beach cleanups for many, many years, as well as a number of other organizations in our state. And you know, we always get asked, well, you know, been doing all these cleanups, is the amount of trash you're picking up going down? And unfortunately, it really isn't, because you know, I think we just don't think about it a lot of times. You know, it's really easy to flick a cigarette butt on the ground somewhere. Even in the city, that cigarette butt goes down the storm drain, becomes part of the polluted runoff, goes down the storm drain and makes its way to our shorelines. So some of the ideas, great easy ideas for protecting our bay, going green, and reducing litter is to carry something. When you go to the beach, carry a bag with you that's intended for trash. So every time you have something that's trash, stick it in the bag, put something on the bag to hold it down, and carry it out with you. We call it carry in and carry out. Another thing is, if you're a smoker, carry a bottle or can or some kind of portable ashtray device that you can use to collect your butts and take that out with you as well. Be careful with fishing line. Fishing line is one of the huge dangers for marine life, and also some of it can be a health hazard for humans as well. So be careful with your abandoned fishing line. Take it with you, and then finally set an example and speak up.
I think speaking up is something good too, and help out in just about every way. Okay, a couple minutes we have left. We're gonna rock through these next ones. All right, number 7, help with the cleanup.
Right. So Save the Bay does beach cleanups April through October and November. Other organizations do them as well. So if you're interested in getting out there, getting outside, enjoying the beach, and doing something great for the community, volunteer to lead or participate in a beach cleanup.
I think that's an excellent idea, and then you feel good about it afterwards.
Absolutely.
All right, number 8, respect the storm drain.
So your storm, it's illegal to dump anything in a storm drain. That includes grass clippings and road sand and salt, leaves, certainly motor oil, cleaning solvents, things that we might use in our driveway, cigarette butts, cigar nubs, all of that. Keep it out of the storm drains. Even as you're fertilizing, if you have to fertilize, sweep the excess fertilizer and grass clippings onto your yard so those rainfalls don't bring it down with it down the driveway and into the storm drain. A lot of people don't realize, they think, well, grass clippings are natural, so they'll biodegrade. But what happens is they actually clog up the storm drain system, causing sewage overflows and also higher maintenance costs that cities and therefore taxpayers have to pay.
I feel like, too, there's just been so much more education. I remember even just being a little kid, from what things were then to what things are now, but just through whichever state I've lived in over the course of however many years, there's been so much more education of how storm drains are and how things work. So I think that's a testament to people in your field and in every state we've lived in. Just, we need to take better care of our systems.
Right.
Okay, number 9, leave a smaller footprint. So how do we do that, Cindy?
Yeah, so this one is really more about reducing carbon emissions that are leading to the climate change conditions that are causing the higher rainfalls and the more intense storms and the greater amounts of snow. So there's some really great ways that you can do that. One is to take advantage of the free energy audits that a lot of energy companies offer in various states. They come in and evaluate your home and make recommendations, and even offer a lot of rebate programs that help you pay for different kinds of things like energy efficient light bulbs or windows or insulation kinds of things.
My in-laws just did that, and they were able to save a bunch of money just by putting in different systems in their homes. And I know a lot of people actually who've done this, and with a free audit.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Go solar if you can. A lot of helpful programs to help consumers go solar in an affordable way. So explore whether that could be right for you and your home. Help reduce transportation pollution. Transportation overall is a really big contributor to carbon dioxide emissions. So some of the ideas that we like to talk about are some communities have started walking school buses so that neighbors, neighborhoods of kids kind of get together and organize a walking school bus. So instead of riding the school bus, one or two or a couple of parents get together with a whole group of kids and they actually walk a few blocks to school, and that cuts down on the transportation need. Use public transportation if you can, or walk or ride a bike whenever you can. Drive electric. Really these kinds of things we see and hear around us all the time that are easy to explore and fit into your lifestyle.
And more communities are becoming bike friendly or public transportation friendly. There are different options, ride sharing. So there's more and more options out there, and more communities are becoming more accepting of them and more accessible, I think, as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, number 10, download the Bay Friendly Living.
Yes, so download our Bay Friendly Living Guide, which touches upon all of the tips that I've given you today, as well as others with more information and more resources. And also because it saves paper if you download it. So going green in a couple of different ways there.
Like that.
And you can get that at savebay.org/bayfriendlyliving.
I think these were all great ideas. One of the bonus ones that I liked, last time you were in here, Cindy, was we talked about one of the cleanups that you had going on. Well, it was all the cleanups that Save the Bay does. But we talked a lot about the amount of plastic that is picked up. And so my bonus tip is using a reusable bottle, mug, cup, straw because of all the broken down plastics that you've found throughout all these cleanups. So my bonus tip for going green in 2018 is try to use a reusable. I've purchased reusable straws. I have a ton of reusable bottles, aluminums, all kinds of things. So that would be my bonus one because of all the broken down plastics that we found.
Yeah, that's a great bonus tip. Yeah, plastics never go away. They just break down into smaller and smaller pieces. And eventually they become sort of indistinguishable from the environment, and they're being ingested by marine life, bird life, and even humans as we eat fish and other life that kind of ingest the plastic along the way.
Yeah, so hopefully you got some education and knowledge out of this, and we can help you. If you didn't have a resolution, maybe we just gave you one. So 10 plus an extra one ways to go green in 2018. Cindy, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you.
And come back again.
All right, thanks.
All right, everyone, we're going to get set up here for our next guest on Go Local Live. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here on Go Local Live in the Navigate and Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm excited to introduce Aura Fajardo. She is with Aura's Chocolate Bar. I'm so excited to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
So you brought us some amazing, delicious sweets to show off.
Yes.
And you have some exciting news. You've been going at this for a long time. You are a chocolatier.
Yes.
And you have a background in chocolatiering and pastry making.
Correct.
But you have some exciting news that you're announcing a new place in Providence. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, so, well, I started my company from Hope and Maine in Warren, but thankfully it grew very fast. So fast that I had to branch out sooner than I wanted to. And I got myself this beautiful kitchen that is mostly a kitchen with a little retail space. So I'm opening, my kitchen has been open for a while, but I'm excited for people to come over to the Olneyville area and have some chocolate, stuff from some locally made chocolate.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so it's located at Olneyville, 11 Aleppo Street. It's very little, and it's like a boutique. But if you visit, you'll be able to see the action. I have my chocolate machines in there. You'll see it's a kitchen, you know, and it's exciting. It's exciting to show people the process of how you temper the chocolate. I have my machines. It's very fun.
Well, and your work is, not only does it smell good, does it taste good, but it looks beautiful as well. So we'll get into a little bit about that, because I'm not sure how many people you get to go out and meet and talk about the process behind making it. So how cool that you found a space where you can go in and you can see how it all works.
Yes.
But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about your background. Because this wasn't your first line of work.
No.
And it wasn't even your second line of work.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about how you got into making chocolate.
Yes. So I came to the United States around 15 years ago, thinking that I was going to do my master's in graphic design. But for some reason, I just didn't like. I liked the career, but I wasn't feeling, like happy and excited about it. So I decided to enroll in Johnson & Wales University to be a cake decorator. I had all my cakes and all my molds for cake and my fondant. I'm like, yes, this is it. But the only internship that I found was in a chocolate place. It was a Hebert's Candy Mansion at Massachusetts. When I got there, I loved it. It was the Easter season. So I remember just falling asleep and seeing bunnies and chocolate bunnies and the machines do this. So I remember that was it. But somehow I loved it. It was like a love-hate relationship. It's like so many bunnies, but I love them. And the process of tempering the chocolate, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So I fell in love with the whole thing, and somehow I found myself getting my first job after school, and it was this chocolatier. I was very scared. Chocolate is very scary for a pastry chef. It was like the last thing that I thought that I was going to do. But now, then I had to kind of teach myself for 4 years in a mass production atmosphere. And after 4 years, I think I was ready to give my whole vision a try. And I'm excited that Rhode Island has loved it. And I have all these fun flavors, and if you want to show some of the flavors.
Let's show some of them.
Yes.
Okay, so you hold these ones.
Okay.
Because you offer, these are kind of specialty. So
yes.
All right, so we have sea salt here, spicy mocha, lemon lavender honey. Oh, jeez.
Yes.
And blueberry sweet pea lime. Talk to me a little bit about how you decided what you were going to make. Because some of these are definitely a little outside of the box.
Definitely.
And let's start with that.
Yes. The one thing is, I know that business, as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to just offer something that everybody else has. So I just wanted to go for the things that I haven't even tried. I'm not really a lavender person, but I'm like, why is everybody doing things with lavender? So that's one of the first recipes I did. It's like, okay, let me whip that lavender. Let me see and that's how the honey lemon lavender came to life. My daughter was my first taster.
I feel like they're honest too.
Yeah,
when you have kids, they're honest.
Yeah, she's 10 years old, and I'm like, are you sure you want to taste this? And she's like, sure, and she loves it. So a 10-year-old loved lavender. So I went everywhere I had some chocolate in my purse. And, here, try. And so that's how we came up with the first crazy flavor. And then the blueberry sweet pea lime, that's crazy. Like, really, I just had a dream. What if I do this and this and that the next morning? Beautiful. I tasted. Yeah, I'm a little bit of a mad chocolatier. Yeah.
I like that though, because how many times do you get to meet a mad chocolatier?
Oh, that's a fun.
And you really try to use you try to source local ingredients, right?
Yes.
So you're using local stuff. What are you trying to do local, and how do you acquire that?
Well, the chocolate is very far from local. It's local from my country.
Oh, cool.
Yes, but I wanted to do the mix between my old roots, my country, and the new, my Rhode Island roots. So I contacted Hope and Maine, and they put me in contact with Waterway Farm, and she is a very, very lovely lady, and she has a fresh marigold, she had the lavender, she had fresh mint, and it was lovely. Like, she gave me all these ingredients, and it's just magic. Like, you just start doing it. I would love to I do have also a local honey from the Providence Honey Company, and it's great. Gary from the Providence Company, he would just email me all about the bees and how they just fly all around New England, but they harvest the honey in his backyard in Providence.
Wow.
It's like it's great. So if you try the honey lemon lavender, you have local lavender, local honey. It was made here, and I just feel very proud of the whole process. And I'm also trying to incorporate local peanut butter, hopefully, and whatever local vendor that has fresh things that you think if it can go with chocolate, send me an email. I might just try it. It might work.
She's come up with some neat concoctions already.
Yes.
I'm excited to see what's next. I think that's so neat though that you've sourced chocolate from Venezuela, and then you're sourcing ingredients from the New England area, from Providence or wherever it may be in New England, and so it's really kind of a connection. And you've made this product that's really you. And it has your name on it, so it's really showcased this product for you and your roots, and it's brought forth all of your background. You know, like you had graphic design, and then you had the wedding, or you've had the pastry industry, and now you have chocolate. So it's really this whole product that's brought forth all of your experience. So I think that's really neat.
Thank you. And let me show this bar.
Yes.
I brought it. So this is kind of the 4 ounce inside. This is kind of the artsy part.
Yeah.
I love it that when you open it, it's an experience. It's like, it's different.
Yeah, you're not just getting a plain sheet.
Exactly. And for Valentine's, I just had to show this. This is so cute. This is me playing. So it has little hearts inside. And you can put whatever message. I was playing around with this for the pictures. And like, I'm glad that I swept right. Better single than sorry. Whatever you want to write, I'll write it down. Oh, this is the season for that. Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about that, because you're opening up this new space. Right now it's kind of a soft launch over in Onlyville, so kind of by appointment only.
Yes.
But you said you are ready for the chocolate season. So Valentine's Day, Easter, Mother's Day.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about that. How do you get ready for that, and how can people approach you?
Well, I'm ready. So I have a lot of chocolate. I bought for it. I have all the molds. I have the heart molds. I have the bunny molds, and I have all the know-how just to make it happen. The other thing that I'd love to do is like chocolate flowers. So not only, I also have I want to tackle the wedding industry, and yes, like for example, this tiny little heart. If you're getting engaged, talk to me. I'll put the wedding ring in the chocolate.
All right, everyone.
Exactly. So, it was a little crazy with the retail, getting everything ready for the opening. But now I'm going to have more time to do my catalog and show off all the things that we can do for you. But whatever, if you love chocolate, whatever it is, I can do it for you.
I think that's incredible too. So, let's talk a little bit about going into weddings, because I think that's a space. We had our friends over at Need Donuts in here a little bit talking how they were venturing out into the wedding scene and talking about how that was never really a goal of theirs, but they just kind of happened into it, and now they're really looking to push into it. Talk to me a little bit about because you have background in pastries and that kind of thing, and now you're pushing all the way through with chocolates. Talk to me about what opportunities you see with chocolates and pushing out into the wedding industry.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you. So usually, in my country and some weddings in here, you love to have like the dessert table.
Oh yeah.
So you usually have your cake and some cupcakes or something like that. But it is in my country, it's common to have the chocolate table. I don't know how common this is, but I would love to introduce it in here. So you can have your truffles, your bonbons, and your chocolate flowers or chocolate sculptures. And it's kind of like it's like a wall factor in the wedding. It's a conversation topic. If you have this big chocolate, sculpture with your names, and I think it's a very, very cute thing to have around, for weddings.
Well, I did my wedding over again, then I would definitely have a chocolate table, I'll tell you that.
Yes.
There's always anniversaries, right?
Exactly, anniversary, babies, it's okay.
Baby,
like
anything.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be wedding. Whatever
Wednesday.
whatever party you want. You want a chocolate table? I have it.
You have it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Okay, so as you are opening again the soft launch this week, what's the best way people? You're also going to host like kind of parties there, right?
Yes. I'm gonna have whatever like bachelor parties, birthday parties. At the end of this Saturday, I have a birthday party for a 12-year-old. So I'm very excited because there's a lot of young ladies that love chocolate, and I'm going to put their aprons on and their hairnet, and yeah, it's beautiful. So yes, I'm going to be opening to public, and I'm also going to have like a little like open house when we are actually open. Like yes, but I will put more information in social media. I am an avid Instagrammer. Not so much into Facebook and other stuff. So if you want to get a hold of me, Instagram is the best way. Yes.
That's how I got in touch with her.
Yes.
That's so awesome. Well, congratulations to you. Oh, we didn't show these ones. And this is,
yes.
we have to show these because these are beautiful.
Thank you so much. So I don't know, of course
we'll show them through. I don't want to open them up.
know. Sorry, I didn't think this through.
So if you're interested in getting in touch, Eros Chocolate Bar, you can find her on Instagram. I mean, these are just beautiful.
Yeah, so
okay, what are these?
So these are tiny bonbons, and these have local honey, peanut butter, and roasted peanuts. And I dress them up with a gold cocoa butter.
It's gorgeous.
And they look so cute. Yes. And
I didn't want to open these ones because
don't worry.
Okay.
You can have this. So these guys are hand-rolled spicy mocha truffles. Yeah, it's dry and sweet, and then you get the hint of the spice at the end. Yes. So I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah, you can totally see it. Well, congratulations again. I know you said you grew a little bit faster than you were anticipating, but
but I'm liking it. Yeah.
But sustainability. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want more information, you can find her on Instagram, and of course, we'll put a link to her website so you can check it out and go stop by. So, Aura, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
We're gonna get set up here for our next guest on GoLocal Live.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us here in the Navigate and Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Molly O'Brien. Neil Saphir joins us today. He is the librarian and director of the John Carter Brown Library on the campus of Brown University. He's also an associate professor in the Department of History at Brown. Thanks so much for joining us, Neil.
You're very welcome.
All right, so we're going to talk about a couple pretty neat things at the John Carter Brown Library. So we're going to talk about the efforts to digitize the collection, but we're also going to talk about what you said in an email to me, quote unquote, the rock stars at the library, which is exciting. And then about some of the other efforts. It sounds like the library is kind of pushing forward in the digital direction. So I'm really interested to hear about that.
Absolutely. Well, for those who don't know about the John Carter Brown Library, it is a special library on the Brown University campus which is focused on the history of the Americas during the colonial period, which essentially stretches from the late 15th century all the way up until the period of American Revolution, which in the case of the United States was 1776, and in the case of Latin American countries into the 1820s and 30s and beyond. It is a spectacular collection of books, manuscripts, maps, and all kinds of other materials that really tell the story about the interconnected nature of our hemisphere. And it's a privilege to work there and to steward such a collection.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. So yeah, I wanted to get kind of an idea of people may or may not know about the library. Talk to me a little bit about how the library came to be, how it got founded, and how the collection came to be.
So John Carter Brown was a graduate of Brown University from 1816. He was a descendant of Nicholas Brown, who gave $5,000 to found Brown University, or rather to change it from the College of Rhode Island to Brown University. And John Carter Brown, obviously a very important merchant family from Rhode Island, decided that he wanted to make the collecting Americana, what he called the great subject, the focus of his collecting passions. His great insight was that he didn't want to only do it as the history of the United States, but also as the history of the entire continent. So that's the reason why we collect from Greenland to Patagonia. And really from 1846, when he started collecting books in a spectacular purchase, all the way through to the very day, we continue to collect books from Chile, from Mexico. We have the largest and most important collection of Mexican imprints from the 16th century in any institution in the world, including Mexico. Ditto for that of Peru. We have the second largest collection of Haitian materials, second only to the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris. We have one of the top 5 Brasiliana collections in the world. So all of the scholars can come here together and sit side by side and look at all of these different materials.
I mean, it's really incredible just when you're saying this. I don't know if people can really comprehend what it means, but when you're saying that, it's pretty remarkable just thinking of the dates and the amount of documents that are in those collections and the historical significance of them. It's pretty remarkable.
Yes, that's right. And it's not by accident that it's here in Rhode Island, in the sense that Rhode Island was, during the colonial period, one of the most important colonial trading centers, and it was connected to Europe, but also all other parts of the Americas. And for that reason, it makes a lot of sense that it is here. One of the things that we've tried to do in the last several years is show that this is a resource not only for elite scholarship, which it is, but also for a much broader public. We do a lot of public events. We welcome people to come and visit the library and to see the collection, see our exhibitions, which we have, but also we're doing a lot of digital outreach, which I know is one of the topics that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. So we will get to that because I think that's super fascinating. Let's talk a little bit more about the collection before we do get to that. You send over to me what are some of the rock star pieces that you have, which I think is such a fun way to kind of talk about some of the materials that you have. You spoke about you have certain items and records and maps and all different kind of ways to describe these materials, but some of them really do stand out in their historical significance. Can you talk about them?
Absolutely. So each of the books that we have in the collection really are unique. They are very, very special copies of very special books. One in particular that also happens to be the most valuable book that we have in the collection is the 1640 imprint printed in Cambridge, Massachusetts, of the whole book of Psalms. It's often known as the Bay Psalm book. We don't know exactly how many were published originally, but now today there are 11 known copies. And what is spectacular about that is that one of them went on auction several years ago and garnered the most money that had ever been garnered for a book on auction, which is $14.2 million. A lot of money. What is even more extraordinary is that our copy is a better copy than the one that went on auction because it is in the original binding. And what is special about that book is that it was the first book that was published in what would become the United States in 1640 in Cambridge, Massachusetts, off the first press. And we specialize in the earliest imprints from all of the Americas. So even before the Besant book in 1640, in Mexico City, there were books and other printed materials coming off the presses from 1539. We have books from 1544. We also have a wonderful book from 1555, which is the first dictionary printed in the Americas between the Spanish language and Nahuatl, that is the language of the Aztecs or Mexica people. That also, in its original binding, you can see all of the different terminology. And these books were used by missionaries and other colonists to try and convert the native peoples of the Americas to the Catholic Christian faith.
Wow, that's fascinating. So because you're a library, you're not a museum, you're not necessarily required to preserve these documents. So where does the line come to access these books and these rock star pieces to use them for, reference, but then also to keep them intact and to preserve them and make sure that they're not being damaged anyway? How do you balance that?
Well, it's absolutely part of the library's history. This library is an institution that went from private hands, the hands of the Brown family, into the stewardship of a private university, Brown University, in 1901. And our current building was built with funds from the donor's family, with the estate of John Nicholas Brown, in 1904. And it was built as a private institution for the public benefit. And so this is something that we have really tried to lean into in recent years, which is that we preserve the materials as in conformity to our charter, but we also want to make sure that the materials get out there into the world. So that's why we do exhibitions, we do publications, and increasingly in the digital age, that dilemma between using materials and preserving materials has really been alleviated, because we can make amazing digital copies of the materials, put them out there onto our web platform, and anybody in the world can take a look at them. If they want to draw mustaches on them, they can. They can use them for whatever purposes, but we still have as our primary mission to take care of the materials that are under our protection.
Okay, all right, because I can see how that could be, if there was a book or material that was sold at auction for $14.2 million and you have one that's in even better condition, I can see how that could be a little anxiety producing to make sure you're still having that resource preserved but still providing access in some shape or form. I know a little bit different, but still. Let's talk a little bit about the research, because you have such an impressive collection. You have a lot of people coming to do research at the library.
That's right. We have, I often say that there's no official language of the John Carter Brown Library, because we have materials in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Dutch, German, Italian, I'm probably leaving out Swedish, even Arabic. And we welcome researchers from all over the world. Anyone who is interested in the colonial period of the Americas is welcome to work in our collection. And we try very hard to bring the primary materials to them, even if they're digitized. So we want to create that access experience. We also have special funded fellowships that we have a call for fellowships, for applications every year, and so we receive between 50 and 60 fellows from all over the world for anywhere between 2 and 10 months working on projects related to our collection. So for instance, right now we have a long-term fellow who is an art historian at the University of California, Davis, John Lopez, who is working on a wonderful project called The Aquatic Metropolis, all about Mexico City in the 16th and early 17th century. We had another scholar who was working on Mexican paper during this early period. We had a scholar from Germany who was working on North American ecological history, who was here for several months. And these are the world's leading specialists in their area, from graduate students all the way to senior scholars, and we welcome them and encourage them to take part in our extraordinary community.
I mean, this is all so fascinating and exciting, the fact that you can look at documents, records, books, materials, resources, whatever it is, and you have some of the leading researchers in the world coming to Providence and utilizing this material. Let's talk a little bit about not only this research, but the library's efforts to really pursue the digital front, because you're taking a look at the past and you're looking at that and really pushing forward to the forefront by pursuing digitalization. Not only through the materials, but in other ways as well. Talk to me a little bit about the library's efforts to push forward in that digital front.
So the number of researchers who have the possibility of coming to Providence and walking through the beautiful doors of the John Carter Brown Library are evidently very small. Maybe it's in the hundreds, maybe thousands per year, but that still pales in comparison to the literally millions, and even, I would say, over 1 billion people who inhabit the Americas and who potentially could have access to material which is really their cultural patrimony. We have the 3rd largest collection of material printed material for U.S. history. So that's already 300 million people just in the United States who have potentially access to our materials and that we'd like to speak to. You add, the hundreds of millions in Latin America and in Canada, and as well as those in Europe who may be interested in the Americas, all of a sudden you're talking about a much larger number. And so we were very fortunate to receive an initial grant from the Andrew Mellon Foundation a couple of years ago for a new digital engagement grant, which is going to help us to produce a platform that will allow individuals, whatever their level of scholarly or educational expertise, to engage with the materials and to learn something about the extraordinary historical items that we have in our collection. So that's really a phase that we're moving toward right now, so that we can push the material out, people can look at them. If on the 4th of July, for instance, people want to see a copy of the Declaration of Independence that was produced on board a ship outside of Newport, we can digitize that and push it out there with an explanation, and everybody in the world will be able to have that experience and to learn about history through the primary source documents. That is an inalienable right that we have, not only as U.S. citizens, but as citizens of the world, and especially in an age where communication about historical realities is so loosey-goosey, we can actually turn to the documents and say, well, if you study these documents and look back at history, you can learn about what, at least, if not really took place, then at least what real historical actors were trying to convey in their carefully reasoned ideas about what the shape of the country and the hemisphere really should look like.
Excellent point on that. And you are working so much. You had that, you spoke about a grant, I believe, but you're also working on new digital fellowships as well, right? Which I think is even more. So, I mean, this really is a push for the library.
Absolutely, it is. We have a new digital fellowship program for former fellows. So we bring former fellows to the library so that they can work on traditional scholarly projects, but pushing it out into the digital realm. We also are just going to be hiring in this coming April an assistant curator for digital outreach, and we have 2 new curators who are coming in, part of whose job is going to be taking their specialized knowledge about the collection and applying that to the digital frame. Now, there are certain things about the digital that don't work, certain senses, for instance, like, as especially related to your previous guest, taste. Yeah. We happen to have one of the most amazing collections on chocolate and the history of chocolate in the colonial Americas of anywhere in the world. But we still need people like Aura to come in and to do tastings of that chocolate, because there's only so far you can get to with books and manuscripts.
Well, you know, you can always try.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Before we let you go, Neil, I would like to talk because you are working on digitizing the whole collection, and you're what, 20%?
That's right.
Okay, so that's pretty good. Talk to me about maybe one of the biggest challenges you have of digitizing.
Well, we are about, I would say, before talking about the challenges, one of the advantages that the JCB has is that it is a relatively small collection. We have approximately 52,000 items, which by special collection standards is actually pretty small.
Yeah.
We've done about 10,000, we just passed 10,000 books, so we're about 20% of the way. We're still acquiring books, so that makes our challenge a little bit difficult. I would say the greatest challenge, we have 2 full-time staff who are actually digitizing the materials. One of our greatest challenges is giving the experience of being in a rare book library like the John Carter Brown Library in the digital realm. And because looking at something and getting a sense of something on a flat screen is very different than touching it, than feeling it, than seeing the experience of it. I believe that books have a talismanic quality. They speak to us, and they speak to us as objects, just as human beings speak to us as individuals. So I think in the future, one of the challenges will be how to create the texture, the context, and the engagement around these materials, even though they're appearing as two-dimensional materials, so that people, be they in Peru or in Europe or elsewhere, can have a similar kind of experience as those walking through the library's doors.
I think eventually we'll get to putting on the headset 3D and flipping the pages that way, right?
I think you're absolutely right. In fact,
that's-
I've thought about the applications of virtual technology so that you can be anywhere in your own little study virtually and be looking through the materials that we have in the library.
They're doing it. It's happening. Neil, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for bringing the past into the future. We look forward to having more discussions on this. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much,
It's
Molly.
been fun. It's been fun.
Pleasure.
All right, we're wrapping up here on Go Local Live, the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. Josh Fenton takes over the helm. Business Monday starts here in just a few moments. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll see you in just a few.